Hi, it's Brenda Zablockus with the Debbie Zois team. And today I wanted to talk to you about solar panels, solar panels on private residences, because one of the number one questions we get asked, and a lot of our longtime clients who are energy conscious call us and say, I'm thinking about adding solar panels. And one of the first questions I ask is, how long do you anticipate living there? Because you really do need to spend some time doing a cost benefit analysis. And then the next question is, are you buying them or are you leasing them? Or are you allowing the utility to use your roof and you pay them for the power that you use, which is not a lease and it's not a purchase. And I've had clients who had the Tesla plan that had done that for them, right? So they're using their roof for energy. They do have a lower utility bill, but they don't own it. They could buy it if they want to. So one of the answers I know as a consumer myself, when someone asks you that direct question and you say it depends, it's like a roll of the eyes. It depends on what, and there are so many factors. So I just want to highlight a few of those for you today. If you have solar already and you're thinking about selling your house, usually the question is, I paid X dollars, sometimes, 20,000, 25,000, I got a tax benefit. Of course, my house is going to be worth more, right? And my answer still is, it depends. Because every contract, every company, and sometimes contracts within a company are different. The rules are different, the terms are different, the agreement is different, and all of that will have some type of weighing factor. So let me tell you kind of what we do know so far, and see if we can help answer that question for you. Whether you're deciding you want to add them to your property, if you're looking at selling your property and want to know if it's going to increase your house value versus a comparable sale that didn't have them. So there's been some studies done. I believe Zillow has done one and some others, and they publish those online. You can find them. But what we're finding is across the board, they had found that some of the top 10 states that have solar, surprisingly enough, is not Nevada, right? But nationally, we're seeing that sometimes solar can add about 4% to a property, which could be on the national average of house pricing about $9,000. If you look at some sunny states, like even the Inland Empire in California, they're only showing about 2.7% versus San Francisco might be 4.4. So there goes back to that equation, it depends. So I'm in Nevada. I'm going to talk a little more about what I've seen as a realtor in the state of Nevada and with consumers. So one of the things that we're finding consistent, and that is if your solar panels are leased, and there are different levels of lease programs. I've seen some lease contracts that are very favorable. They're great for the consumer. It makes having those solar panels desirable, and a buyer is willing to take over that lease. There are some lease agreements that are not favorable. The terms are barely just under what they would get from the utility already. And so we're finding in those circumstances, they have zero increased value to your appraisal. They might have a demand from a buyer from a desire standpoint because they want to be energy conscious, right? They want to contribute to saving, the environment. So they might find the solar panels as a plus. And as long as the net to them on utility is lower, then they're usually agreeable to take on that lease, but it may not increase the value of the property. Another factor in that is how old are the panels? Were you an early adopter in getting the solar panels? There's some great early adopter programs out there actually. But now we're looking at, as solar panels age, we've learned that they have a 20-year lifespan is kind of what most of the companies guarantee, but we also know that their efficiency in developing those kilowatt hours declines as they age. So what is the age of those solar panels? Are they already at half-life? Are they at 10 or 15 years? Quite honestly, when we buy houses every day, right? And the HVAC system might be 10, 15 years old, functioning well, but when we do that, we know that's probably going to be a future expense. I treat solar panels the same way. It is an appliance. It's something to help with saving energy, but it has a lifespan, and they're either going to need to be replaced, updated, what have you. So all those things are factors that need to be considered. So there is no one flat answer because there's so many variables. So leased do not really add value, could add desirability. The content of the lease, the terms, uber important. That can increase the valuableness, if you will. I believe it helps you as a home seller to have all the details, the copy of the contract of your solar lease and agreement ready for the consumer when you get your house listed. Because once you have a consumer, part of their due diligence is evaluating that lease agreement. And you also want to make it available to the appraiser, because if it is really favorable, it might help your house value, provided we have an appraiser who understands solar. And I know that many of them are being educated on it every day, right? Because it's new and upcoming. So many have been exposed to it. Many have done a lot of study on it so they can be better equipped to help their industry. So if you do own the solar, it's more valuable to a buyer because they don't have a lease, but they will have the same concerns. What is the age? What is your agreement with the utility? Most often, whether you're leasing, owning, whatever, you're always going to have a bill to the utility company for the basic infrastructure costs. Those are usually $12, $15, whatever it's going to be. Not terrible, quite honestly. I believe there are still some of the early solar adopters here in the state of Nevada, especially in Southern Nevada, that got a great program, and they don't have that minimal payment to the utility, is my understanding. Haven't seen one of those in several years, so I don't want to really be the expert on that. I just want to say that it may exist. So if you happen to be one of those people, I'm not saying you don't exist. I'm just saying that I haven't seen very many of them, because if you recall, the solar here in Las Vegas, it got launched, it got paused, and then it resumed. So in many ways, for being the sunshine state that we are, I feel we're a little bit behind the 8 ball maybe in the adoption of solar, and a lot of that had to do with the agreements with Nevada Energy, et cetera. So won't get into the politics of that, but really we had a big pause, and we had some solar companies leave our state, get acquired, go out of business, all sorts of things. That's another question. When you bought, who you bought your solar from, are they still in business? Is there someone who is doing the maintenance for you? Do you have a separate maintenance contract? So there's a lot of variables. Also, what is the condition of your roof, or the age of your roof when the solar panels were put on? Buyers want to know that information. The reason is, if it comes time to have the roof repaired, the roofing company's not taking those solar panels down, right? You have to actually have the solar company come out, remove the panels, get your roof repaired, and put the solar panels back on. So that process increases costs and time for that to occur. So that is an impact on the consumer. There are many solar companies who did a good job in their due diligence. They investigated the roof's condition prior to allowing the solar panels to be put on. That may not have been true for every solar company. So that is a question for the consumer to articulate. If you are a seller and you can articulate that and it's favorable, I encourage you to make sure that the buyer knows this to make your property more attractive and help with that pricing strategy to get a little more return on investment for that. So I think those are really some of the highlights about solar panels on your home. I know that many states like California is expected to be by, I think it's 2030, they need to be at 30% renewable energy. So they're really pushing homes being built with solar. And I think it's by 2050 that they need to be to 50%. Is that doable? I really don't know. Right now, our state does not have that mandate. But I expect that as things go on, that we certainly will see a change in that. So if you have any questions about solar, about your particular circumstances and whether it's adding value or not, I'd love to have that conversation with you here at the Debbie Zois team. Give us a call at 702-838-7700.